Welcome in the name of Evosoft Hungary. I am Peter Gajer. I am a Quality Management Commissioner of the department Digital Factory, Embedded and Runtime. In this presentation, I will tell you about our experiences of testing in complex agile projects. You will hear the true story of one of our biggest agile projects. I will tell you what kind of difficulties we had in the testing to solve the difficulties and what have we learned from it. Okay, the 2% of the Evosoft staff salutes you in these photos. We are one of the bigger Hungarian software development companies with or more than 1,000 software engineers. The Evosoft Group is the 100% owned subsidiary of the Siemens AG. Therefore, the result of our work can be found in the products of the Siemens in all of area of its portfolio. Where exactly? For example, in the field of the automated factories. Can you imagine what kind of a shame it would be if all of a sudden you would hear in the news that the Hungarian GDP decreased in September by 2% because of the shutdown of Audi Győr. And the root cause of all it was the defective software of the Siemens automation system produced by Evosoft. Another part of our portfolio is the medical diagnostic imaging systems. What would you say if your doctor would tell you, "Dear patient, I'm so sorry, but we couldn't diagnose properly your status because of the software of the Siemens MRI device. It was produced by Evosoft. So, I have to confess you have actually cancer. What a huge disgrace." Last but not least, I would like to mention our contribution to Siemens electromobility program. Can you imagine you buy a brand new Volvo XC90 hybrid car, but one day you receive a mail from Volvo. "Dear customer, please don't use your car if the temperature is over 35 centigrades because the control software of the drives developed by Evosoft have a bug and your car can be dangerous over this temperature." It would be also a real shame. Therefore, to avoid such a situation, we have more than 450 well-educated testers who are engaged for improving the quality. The next topic is why we committed ourselves to agile methods. Our pioneers were the developers of the Department of Medical Devices. They have more than 8 years experiences in agile. I would like to tell you the story of the department of Digital Factory, where I am the quality manager. So, why agile? Previously, we developed based on the good old waterfall, or also called V model. We were satisfied with this method, and everything gone fine. But once, due to several causes, the validation phase expanded to more than double what we previously planned, despite the fact that this task was originally estimated to be a couple of months. It resulted as unacceptable time to market. Switching to agile. It seemed to be a good idea because generally the validation is the task of agile team within each sprint for each user story. But what does it look like when more than 1,000 colleagues, that means more than 15 teams, should cooperate? every team has own product owner and the area of responsibility. The functionalities within the responsibility of the team can be really tested by the team in the scope of a sprint. But what we could do if functionality is work over more areas of responsibilities. Therefore, we need validators. We call them, in the Siemens terminology, cross-functional test team. So, let's turn to story of the project, what I promised you. This project was difficult not only because of its size, but also because of the agile transition and because of the amount of legacy code and legacy test cases involved. Because we didn't want to have a big bang, some teams went agile and some didn't. In the agile transition, 2 teams out of 15 were involved. I will help by explanation by the task burn down charts and by the 3 chartsmen, happy in green for good events, doc in yellow for the warnings, and grumpy in red for the really problematic situations. Till the mid of the release, everything was great and joyful, but sometimes something happened. Okay, the colleague said, we were obligated to switch from 2-week-long sprint to 1-week-long, therefore we couldn't estimate properly. Okay, I understand. But even for second time, here were we informed that our 2 agile teams take part in an experiment. We will try how deep the team can validate the product without any external validator. At the end of the next sprint, I asked, why do you log a user story along the 3rd sprint? It is forbidden in Agile. Here, we recognized that the teams have a big lack of knowledge in validation. And at top of all, the validation test cases of the previous versions were really underdocumented. We organized a crisis council to discover the root causes of our problems. It happened 2 weeks after of the first bad smell. We decided to use unified toolset. Previously, the verificators and the validators used different tools. Assemble the inventory of our test base. The validation and verification test cases combined. Forming test clusters and adding new test cases, and form a unified template for the test documentation. And last, prioritizing the test clusters based on the risk of the functionality. We guessed that the start will be tough. But the first results showed already. We discovered that there are a lot of test cases that we didn't know about. The green bars showed the test cases that passed, the red one are the failed, and the yellow one is the known discovered test cases and the new test cases that not run already. As I mentioned before, a lot of validation test cases were underdocumented. We discovered and documented them. It was a long and systematic work. The yellow bars and the progress of the yellow bars will show you the result of this discovering work and of course, the new test cases what we generated. I will go quickly through the next some slides of sprints because it was a usual daily business. But you can follow by the yellow bars how we assembled our whole inventory of our test base. Last test cluster, and we could improve our test coverage. And in the last, this is the last sprint. And yes, we did it. With our 2 agile team reached the planned deadline. The other teams who didn't use agile delayed for 6 weeks. We could do it by using agile controlling methods for detecting our problems early. What are the main lessons, what we learned? First is the team setup, then inventory of test base, define test periodicity, use unified toolset, and not to lose control. And let's go through these lessons learned in detail. Team setup. Build co-located cross-functional teams. This is generally a principle in Agile project. However, if you have a transition in the development of a product with more previous versions, lot of legacy codes, a lot of underdocumented legacy test cases, you have to have assigned more effort to the test than usually. It means not only testers, the verifiers and validators, but also tools, time, and budget for the test automatization. In the past, verifiers and validators usually worked separately, but now they work together. Therefore, one of the first steps has to be harmonize their aspects, mindset, and test dates. You can sort out a lot of redundancies and also figure out the gaps in your test base. Continuous integration and testing is the base requirement of agile development. But what can you do if the daily build and test runs for 25 hours? You have to split and categorize your test base. During splitting of test cases, you have to take into account the risk of the functionality, the time need for test execution, the test resource needs, and many more aspects. You can cut wood with a jackknife and with the chainsaw as well. You know which is the better solution. For administering the test status, you have to have powerful test management toolset. It could be a lucky situation if it is integrated with requirement, bug, and source control tools as well. Therefore, your effectivity and quality of your product will be improved. Agile methods give us a wide range of powerful controlling possibilities. Use them. By the way, at the very beginning of this presentation, I mentioned why Siemens decided to go agile. Because of the long time to market, because of the several months long validation period. Nowadays, this period is 2 weeks. Yes, we did it. The agile methods give us a wide range of powerful controlling. That's my boat. Okay. So, thank you for your attention. If you have any question, don't hesitate to ask me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And we have plenty of questions, so let's go for the first one. How do you estimate your tasks, story points, or time? Why did you choose this option? Also, it is testing taken into account in the estimation.
The answer is yes, 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 yes. So
thank you.
we estimate story point because it is the default case in the agile. Therefore, we choose it. And of course, the testing is taken in the consideration during estimation exactly in the grooming or backlog refinement meeting, as today called. It is very interesting if you have a story, then there could be a lot of several aspects. And I experienced much more when developer said, okay, it's 13 points, and the tester said, for me, it's only 2. Then you have to ask why. And this could be a very good base of the very good clarification for the story, for example. Yeah? So the story points are estimated, test resource taken into the consideration, and of course only the tasks are what are estimated by ORs.
Okay. So the next one,
which test management tool did you use? We use generally the Microsoft tool set, so Visual Studio, Test Manager, and so on.
What is your ratio between manual and automated testing?
It's depending. In every story, every project, it is different. Because as I mentioned, if you have a project with long history, with a lot of manual test cases developed previously, you can to switch it to be automated only step by step. So nobody will pay you if you would like to make a big bang for a legacy project in test automation.
Next one.
Okay.
What kind of agile do you use in a safety critical field?
Why is it a question? I don't understand. We use for safety critical project also agile. As I mentioned, this electromobility. It is safety critical, but use agile. And what I didn't mention, for example, the train control systems, also safety critical and used agile. And mainly Scrum. If we use Scrum or Kanban, so the 2 main methods in agile, it depends not from the project, but from the project phase. If you have a development phase till the end of release, it's better because of the controlling the Scrum. After the development in the release test phase, because of the quick reactions need, we use Kanban.
Okay, next one. What do you mean by test documentation? Do you use some tool for that? Isn't the clean code is the best documentation?
Okay.
Good question.
Documentation, it depends also from type of the project. For example, I showed the medical systems. Then we have to have really a big documentation for the several authorities, several authorities. We have to do this documentation, and we have to estimate this documentation to the story, to every story. Yeah.
Okay. Next one. When covering legacy tests, how you determined whether you still need certain test cases?
It was a very hard job. So it was several sprints when the verificators and validators sat together and discussed what this test case means if you have on the other side also some similar and how we harmonize it. It was a very, very hard job.
Okay, next one. How many validators you have? Do all the validators need to know each requirements or stories from different teams?
About this thing, you will hear a presentation afternoon from my colleague Vödrös Balázs, I think. We have more or less at least 20% of a project team as validator.
Okay, next one.
Who is he?
We always hear complaints about agile overhead.
How do you deal with that? Okay, good question. We do it good. So simple. If you have an agile team and they say on the first or second retrospective that we have only meetings, why we have to do a daily stand-up which is half an hour, they do something wrong. So simple. So when I'm coaching teams, I say you that you need only so much effort for the meetings what you need. What is you need? But from other hand, from grooming, from backlog refinement, you mustn't think that is a waste time. It's a best time of the meetings what you can have.
Okay, and the last one, okay? How come that estimation was less precise when you switched from 2 weeks long sprints to 1 week long ones?
It was not the estimation, but the commitment of the team. Yeah? Team first estimate the stories, and they make a commitment. Okay, on the next sprint we will work out 8 stories. But if you have a half so long time, it is not necessary half much what you can commit. Yeah? So it's really a bit problematic, but it has to be problematic only 1, maximum 2 times.